The ideology or the philosophy would be that we need to work with the community in order to solve our crime problem. There is no magic bullet. We have to have them be the eyes and the ears. Therefore, we have to educate them, whether it's through them being a good witness or how to be organized in neighborhood watches and those type of things, because we've gone out there and done that. For instance, there was an incident that happened earlier in the year where a lady shot a home invader up in Paradise Hills. And as a result of that, she wanted to know how she could better protect herself, because although the incident happened, she was still in fear. So what we were able to do is go out there and touch base with that community, that neighborhood, because that raised their level of feeling threatened, so to speak. And as a result of us going back out there and educating them, they felt more comfortable with what had happened and understood what had happened and how they could help law enforcement and how they could help themselves. So with us being in such a large area with limited resources, we're saying, how can we empower the people? How can we go out there and facilitate these type of meetings in order for us to be more effective? Because yes, we're very good at the reactive work. We've almost perfected that. But what can we do to balance that out with the proactive work? And for us, it's at this level, we need to be able to educate people, make them aware, and understand what's going on from the community side by going on and meeting with them on a regular basis. And I've literally had hundreds of meetings with many different stakeholders at all different levels, and brought that information back on how we're going to deploy our resources. And just as a result of those meetings, I've literally met with thousands upon thousands of people to get what their concerns are. And then we bring that back to our office, and then it gets filtered down into our rank and file, and they understand what the priorities are based on the feedback we're getting from the public. Well, let me speak to first off our responsibility, or my responsibility as a sheriff. First and foremost, I need to enforce all the laws of New Mexico and the ordinances of the county and uphold the Constitution. Therefore, I'm always going to enforce every law in the books. The federal government needs to enforce the laws that deal with federal immigration. Are we going to support their efforts when they come in when they're in play? Absolutely. We always have. We always have, until they reform those laws and do something different. We're at the same point we were 10 years ago. Those laws haven't changed. Are you asking me anything above and beyond that's going on outside the state?
Well, I guess, Arizona's kind of taken matters into their own hands, and a lot of the politicians who are in these races have opinions about maybe us following suit. What do you think local law enforcement should do?
Based on that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I look at it this way. I was in Arizona in 1981. I was in the United States Marines. And I used to run off the base, and when I used to run off the base, there's people that were hired there by Arizonans to do their jobs of picking the fruit and what have you. And I think the people from Arizona are very aware of the things that have been created there in the last 30 years. And I don't know if the answer is to create a law that counters that all of a sudden and see what the reaction is after. And then obviously as a result of that law, I mean, it's very controversial. The few things that I do know that came out of that is that there was some rioting. I know there was a police officer that was killed, and there's been some other violence as a result of that law. And I guess there's some other backlashing, but those laws don't apply here. And I think what happens is that the people that you look at putting in office are going to have to evaluate those type of things before they legislate law, in order to see what the people want, because that's what we're here as elected officials to be. Is I'm in that position. My ultimate responsibility is to the people, and if people want certain things, then they need to bring those people into office that legislate those laws, and make sure that they get what they want, because you don't want laws that are going to violate people's constitutional rights. Now, I don't know enough about it legally to give you a legal opinion, but reading through it, I mean, it's not, that law's not here. Therefore, I'm not going to say we don't need to be concerned about it, but I think as a state, people need to be concerned that if these type of things go on, that they need to start being a little bit more intimately involved with the issues and do that research before they legislate these laws. So it's important that we be involved. Again, we take people to jail in terms of dealing with certain crimes. You know, and of course we have to deal with everyday issues of overcrowding and those. So, you know, I don't know if it's going to be feasible to lock everybody up and put them in jail. But if the lower level end things, if that's something they're discussing, I would have to have more information in order to give you like a 100% answer at this time, because I'm not as familiar with that. I'm just going to tell you that I know that there's people who are out of jail, and there's different programs like the CCP, community, correct? So obviously you've looked at other angles. So I'm sure that that the criminal justice system, based on the cost and everything, they're always going to have to look at other avenues. If I get more information and this thing progresses a little bit further, I'd probably be able to give you a little bit more sure answer. You know, I think it'd be irresponsible for me to give you a solid answer without having as much information as I need. It goes by, again, by addressing those employment needs, understanding what they need contractually to develop or better their quality of life issues. That's why we go to negotiations. But it really comes down to having a good relationship with them, understanding from the employee's perspective what they need. Because I understand this from both sides, because I've come up from the bottom up, so to speak. So I understand those needs. I totally understand that we have to have a good working relationship, because if we don't, it doesn't benefit the organization, it doesn't benefit the community. So we're always going to entertain dialogue with them and good communications and just things that they need to perform their jobs, things that they need to become more efficient, to get more fulfillment, so to speak, career-wise, to sit there. That's where I feel very fortunate being the sheriff, because I feel like a lot of those things were fulfilled, and that's led for me to have a very promising and great career. And I've always felt very good about putting on my uniform. I can honestly say in all the days I've ever worked, I've never not enjoyed coming to work. And I want people to have that same feeling. I want them to have that same gratification. But a lot of that's on us by saying, hey, I own my career, I know this is my calling, I know this is what I enjoy and I love doing, and I want to serve the public. Some of that comes to the commitment of that in each individual. Not every individual feels that way, but that's what we want to provide. That's the environment we want to create for people. One of the things I felt that was most important since this transition is I understand from a leadership perspective, being in the United States Marine Corps, that the first thing you have to do in any organization, you have to show people you care about them. And one of the strongest messages that we sent is that we created a chaplain's position, because we felt that with as much stress as an officer goes through, a lot of the difficult things that they have to witness in terms of watching children that have been abused or sexually molested, or women that have been beat up, or people that have been killed, or they've lost family members, all these stressful things, is that their mental health is important. So what we did is we brought a chaplain aboard to help forward these programs, to show them that we care about them, and that when these things are going on in their lives, that there's somebody there for them that they can go through to get the support that they need in order to get through these very trying times. And not just saying at the end of the career, you're done, we're gonna put you out in society too, because in law enforcement it has one of the highest suicide rates, alcoholism, domestic violence, divorce, and I could go on and on. So why should our officers suffer? Because they've gone out and served the community, they've had to deal with the worst of the worst, and we're not going to show them we care about it. So to me, one of the strongest messages I wanted to send is that we care about you.